global variables available for a joblet can now be shown in the outline view of its parent job or joblet. You can add a variable in the outline view to a component in the job easily by a drag and drop. For example, the joblet myJoblet is reused in myJob. In the outline view of the job, we can see that the variables for the components in the joblet are displayed in the folder tree view. Drag and drop the variable myKey from tset global var and file name from tfile input delimited in the joblet into the code box of the tjava component. The variables are generated for the job. Edit the code to print the values of the variables. In the joblet, the value of the variable myKey is the output file is. The value of file name is the path to the output file. Run the job. The values of the two variables are printed on the execution console. With the January release, you can work with Iceberg partitions in your Spark batch jobs. New options are indeed added when you select the alter action on your Iceberg table in the tIcebergTable component. In the drop-down list, you can retrieve the following options: add partitions, drop partitions, and replace partitions. Let's take this Spark batch job as an example. You have created an Iceberg table based on a Hive catalog and inserted data containing dates. You can create a partition named year to group together all the similar rows from transaction date. You can also choose to replace the newly created partition by giving a new expression in the table as follows. For example, with months. Finally, you can also directly remove the partition field. Note that by doing this, only the partition field is removed, and the existing table data will remain in the old partition. You can now enable transaction for SQL connection in the cSQL connection component by selecting the Use Transaction checkbox in the Basic Settings view. To control the transaction behavior, two new components, cTransaction and cRollback, are added. cTransaction handles transaction for SQL connection within the same CAML context. When transaction is enabled in a cSQL connection component, it is available in the data source list of cTransaction. You can select the required propagation type from a list of options. cRollback triggers rollback when error occurs in root. For example, in this root, the cSQL connection component is configured to connect to an H2 database with transaction enabled. Two cTimer components are used to start message exchanges. In the first subroot, cTransaction handles transaction. The cSQL component creates a test table of 4 columns in the database. In the second subroot, the cSQL component reads data from the test table. The cProcessor component generates a null pointer exception. In the third subroot, the cOnException component handles exceptions, and cRollback triggers rollback when error occurs. Run the root. We can see the message exchange in the first subroot. The null pointer exception in the second subroot is handled and rollback is triggered.